Did you know that 100 out of 100 people are suffering with subscriber phobia? So if you hit the subscribe button, you're cured! I've started recording every Mythic Plus key this season, and in these episodes I'll go over the ups and downs of my journey towards getting that juicy sought after 0.1% title. Diving under the sea, we start the week off with a 27th throne. We pull all the way up to the end and we focus down the sentinels. We did pretty good damage in this pull as well, even though you can't see the meters, silly me. We pulled a Ravager afterwards, and let me tell you, this lady slaps. We end up losing the rogue after he takes an acid barrage and he just gets one shot. I'm not sure if he instantly got a tick of the damage with the initial damage, but he fell over so fast I don't really understand how he died so quick. We pull all the way to the end upstairs, and this pull is extremely spicy anyway, and with it being raging, casts end up just going off left, right and center. We end up losing the druid right at the start of the pull, which is super bad because boomkins absolutely crank in high target counts, especially at this key level. I and others went down as well when we got crushing depths. Even if you do spam yourself like I do with healing, it's really hard to get rid of this massive healing absorb. You either need an external or better healing potions, which I have now switched to. So you can see me using the normal Dreamwalkers one, but I have now switched to the other one, which does more healing and you take little ticks of damage. Now our rogue in the party becomes a not happy chappy here. The druid uses his silence beam on this kick, and he just starts having a go for some reason. He just starts complaining about why did you do this, blah 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 on one caster. But bear in mind, the druid did die to cast going off on the initial pull, so he has every right to have no faith in the rest of the group. And as someone who doesn't tend to talk in chat often, as soon as he started just kind of typing away, I just told him to stop typing, because even if I'm tilted, I just find it easier not to type that sort of stuff because one, it's not that big of a deal, and two, typing mid-run to just complain about one kick is just going to tilt everyone else in the dungeon. And if you do have issues with people after the dungeon, it's probably best to express them after it's either completed or depleted. Don't get me wrong though, some things are worth mentioning in the dungeon if you're wanting to play around things or if someone needs to be doing something, but complaining about a kick, it just isn't one of those times. As you can see, the kick was back up for the pack anyway, so his whole point was for nada. The only thing he did do was tilt himself and everyone else in the party. Good job, mate. Also, if you look in the minimap, the dude is literally AFK typing. He's not even pressing buttons. At that point, I was getting at my limit with the dude. I told him to just start pressing buttons, and he hits me with the chill dude. Brother, maybe take your own advice. We start clearing the next room, and I think most people's focus had already gone. We get random silly deaths here and there. We do clear it, and then we go on to Lady Naz, and apparently we weren't stacked in the proper spot. I do appreciate the comment explaining it in last episode. So the druid ends up going down. We do end up finishing the boss, but because of all the deaths and all the typing, I think the tank just ends up herfing out, and I honestly can't blame him. Then the rogue and the druid just keep going back and forth for a little while, and that is the end of our throne journey. Straight into a 28 Atal, big boy key right here. We go left with Lust, we clear the packs pretty well. We have a few deaths here and there to a few rogue fireball casts going off and the occasional charge in melee. Then I end up making a slight mistake. I take the transfusion pool when the mob was about to die. So I end up just giving myself a massive heavy dot for zero reason. But I guess my brain was just zugzugging, so I'm leaving this in just so that if you end up in this situation, don't take the pool. Moving more into the dungeon, we pull the middle pack with Lust and we lose our warrior friend to the charge straight away. Feels bad. The DH then goes down to Wild Thrash, and then for some random reason, the warrior and the DH just rack up a few deaths trying to get back to us because they can't get past because there's a sword pack. So some nice little added time to the timer. Getting through the rest of the dungeon, we have a good few deaths to swords and the death count is starting to rack up. We clear Razan and Vocal, and by the time we get to Yasma stairs, we already have 17 deaths and just under 4 minutes for the boss, so it's going to be really close even with Lust. We head up the stairs and the monk was drinking for some mana, get to the top of the stairs and he dies to a spider in the most awkward spot imaginable. I go try to res him right at the top and I can't reach him without jumping down, so I have to dodge the spiders, get the res off. So one timely res later, we pull Yasmer, we play it really clean, we don't have any deaths on the boss, but we missed the timer by 7 seconds. Honestly, missing the timer within 10 seconds is just so heartbreaking. I've had it in so many of my dungeons recently. I honestly would rather deplete within the first 10 minutes and go through the whole dungeon and miss out by 5 or 6 seconds. If the monk didn't die though before the boss, we would have timed it, but that's not the only reason we didn't time the dungeon, as you can see in the death counter. But onwards and upwards, onto the next key. Now onto a 27 DHT, we go big with the bear all the way up to it with Lust, but this pull did not go smoothly. We had the little A-bombs just pooping absolutely everywhere. I end up getting trapped with loads of crap around me, so I end up going down, and then the other 2 DPS end up going down to Cass and the poop on the floor as well. Next pull, I do something silly. I am being a little bit greedy here. I move a little bit too far forward, and the Razor Beak just clips me with the charge. At the time, when I was doing the key, I thought, how the hell did that hit me? But looking back, as you can see, I was just slightly too far forward. So I end up dying to that. We have way more deaths and affixes going off as we clear to the first boss, so not the best start to the key, but we do end up bringing down the first boss. We then clear to Oakheart, where the boss was really smooth, and even unfortified, it is still quite a dangerous boss with the Shattered Earth cast going off throughout the fight. But that's not what killed people. At around 5% he does one last breath and he just incinerates the rogue and the priest. But on a good note, look at how much damage we were doing, blasting. So we are pressed for time, and after killing the third boss, we shroud skip past the first 2 packs in the little tunnel area straight into the 4 bats. We kill them and then we start going towards the last pack and it goes sour within 0.1 seconds. The tank didn't swipe, I guess, going into the pack, and as soon as the DH pressed Emo Warrior, he just dies. Then the tank dies and then everyone else dies, besides the priest, who absolutely clutched up. He saw the pull go sour and he quickly jumped down the side and then shadow melded. He reses us up, we go again, and it nearly goes bad again. We lose the DH and the tank, and myself. Thankfully I had Reincarn and the rest of us managed to kite the pack and kill it. But now we have 25 deaths, we got 4 minutes on the timer, so again it's going to be close. Actually unreal that going through all that it's still possibly timeable, considering how the dungeon went prior, so yeah, pretty crazy. We go onto the boss, and surprisingly we only had 2 deaths on the boss, which was right at the end to Swirlies, and we timed it with just under a minute left. We just missed out on the top spot for overall to the DH, but we gained a whopping 10 points. GG's. Next dungeon is a 27 rise. We didn't go a mega big at the start, pulling both the mini bosses because it is quite a sketchy pull, especially with the orb going out every now and then, and it is fortified, so Ancient Radiance hits hard. So we opted to just do 2 packs and a keeper. This platform is really dangerous, probably one of the most dangerous parts of the dungeon itself, especially with the Raging Affix. That Corroding Volley cast is a key breaker. If that goes off, it's basically GG's. Surprisingly though, we didn't actually lose anyone and we cleared the entire platform with 0 deaths. Not so smooth on the boss though, as most of my tier fights go. The orbs end up just sneaking into the middle every time we get in the transmission, so first transmission, 2 orbs go in, takes out the druid. Second transmission, 3 orbs go in, takes out the druid, and then the dispels come out, and then me and the monk go down. Thankfully though, I did have Reincarn, so we finished the boss. We then head upstairs to this sketchy duo, and I see the tank going forward. He uses Glaive Toss. I send an Elemental Blast. Crit, nice, very good. But no, not very good, because I end up getting aggro and dying, and that is probably my bad. I then run back, and the second cast of AoE is going out. 4 of us die. I did use my defensive at around 40%, but I definitely should have sent it as soon as he started casting, because most likely the priest already had used his cooldowns to survive the first one and everyone else. Moving further into the dungeon, we do the 3 horsemen, and let me tell you, this earthquake cast from the middle dude absolutely slaps, and it can definitely take you by surprise. First one, Druid gets taken out instantly. Second one, well not second one, but second death is me dying. I stand my toe in it for a little bit too long, and it kills me within 1 second flat. You definitely need to be pre-moving for this, and going into the next time I pull this pack, I will definitely play it better with either using my defensives beforehand or having some form of move speed just to get out quicker. After Battlefield, we move on to Morchi, where on paper there should be 0 issues, as we have Fear from the DH, Mass Entangle from the Druid, and then as backup we've got Ring of Peace and my Earthgrab Totem. Doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately. The clones step a little bit too close to us because I thought they were going to be instant CC'd, and I press Lava Lash and Flame Shot goes on them, so we have to do a little bit of dancing there. Next clones, they end up being broken out again somehow. I don't understand how. I didn't have any Flame Shocks or anything on them. Probably the Druid. Just before intermission, our Druid then goes down and the tank Engineer reses him. The Druid decides to take the res in the middle of the intermission, which is quite peculiar, honestly, because you have limited time to get to the place anyway. And as soon as he does, a clone goes right into a pool, gives him another debuff, and he dies. And to make matters worse, the tank gets hit by the frontal from the intermission, and that is the Deplete. Just before we try our hand at a 27 throne, look at this nice wholesome message I got when I first joined these guys in the party. First time in decades I've had a nice greeting being a shaman. Back to the key though, we do the normal big pull at the start and we're on Sentinel funnel duty. We blast through the dungeon pretty well. We had a couple of deaths here and there to cast going off and the Crushing Depths debuffs, but it's to be expected. We lose the priest twice back to back, one to a Crushing Depths and then one to a cast. And it was really unfortunate because I literally got my kickback as the cast finished on him, so I did feel bad about that. We crushed Lady Naz and your boy was blasting. We definitely weren't doing ethical damage to the ads in the intermission. Next boss we easily defeat too, and then this little funny moment happened here. We're going through the fish gauntlet and the paladin dies, and then the priest memes him straight away and he gets the most rapid response of instant karma I have ever seen, and you know I love meme deaths. One more weird meme death which did happen to myself. We were fighting the 2 Mind Flame mobs and the first beam goes off quite clearly, as you can see, and then you can just barely catch a glimpse of the second one because it is completely invisible on the floor, and you can only just very slightly see it on the right still winding up, and it completely takes me out. At the time I really did question my whole reality. I was like, how the hell did I not see that beam? But moving on, we clear the alien boss and the gauntlet with a few deaths on the way, and then it's on to the last boss with just over 3 minutes left. So again, another close timer. We have Lust coming up right at the end of the fight. We kill the main boss with only 22 seconds left on the timer. We have Lust rolling, but we actually managed to time it with 2.5 seconds left on the timer. So close from depleting, but thankfully we didn't. It was right down to the wire, and it actually goes in our favor for once. We get a nice +8 points, and that takes us to 3476. Another 27 rise. I had a good few attempts at this dungeon for the week because we are still stuck on a 26 for fortified, so you will be seeing more of it. Pre-warning. We did the mass support to start with the Maiden and the Keeper, and this can be a little bit sketchy. Sometimes the Maiden can kind of blend in with the other mobs, and it is hard to see where she's shooting the orb. But besides that, we cleared the platform with only 1 death. We then pulled 3 Vanguards on top of tier, and as a melee player, it does make my life a little bit more difficult because you now need to dodge the cleaves, and you still need to bait the frontal in the correct spot and not at the middle. As always though, and I've mentioned previously, for some reason people still do not understand how to soak the orbs and not let them go into the middle. So we have multiple go in and we wipe again. Even though we did wipe, we're on really good time as we cleared everything and got the boss down to 75% in just over 5 minutes, so 100% recoverable, but the paladin just dipped straight away. I guess he just couldn't be asked and he didn't want to give it a go. And I'm fairly certain I played with the same paladin before and he's done something similar, but I guess we move on. This clip here is actually me doing a reroll key because I had a dead key and I wanted to get rid of it. I've already timed this key, it's a 27 Black Rook hold, but as you can see, we're on time for a +2, so it's actually going to be a score increase. So I thought I'd include it as, even though it's only a very small increase in score, I wanted to show each point I do gain throughout the series. So nice little +2 on the Black Rook for a nice little +2 Rio, and that takes us to 3478. Back to another Black Rook hold, this time on a big boy 28 key. Definitely more clenching going on in these keys as we go higher. Quick note, if you did notice, we did actually get the Ember of Nullification trinket in the 27 you just saw, so we've started using that because we really need the versatility to survive in these 27 plus keys. And next episode you're going to see my absolutely stacked tanky boy set. Back to the dungeon now, we somehow beat out the Paladin on the first pull. Go us. We pulled the mini boss after, and we do have the monk go down twice, once to the cleave frontal. Second death was a glaive toss into a cast. The DH did have his kick up, so the death could have been avoided there, but yeah, we move on. We get the first boss down and the second boss, no issues there, but we did end up picking up a few deaths from the scouts and the archers because with the raging affix this week, you cannot stop their cast, and with only one of us being able to get rid of that from the druid, you end up losing someone because it's really hard hitting abilities like Arrow Barrage and Knife Dance. After that, we go into the Drunk Gremlin room with the Bannerlords. This part is really hard for us to compete in DPS because we are hard target capped. 99% of the time, I just send the Bannerlords with funnel damage because I'm never going to do as much AoE as everyone else. But sometimes when you are doing funnel damage, tanks don't taunt the Bannerlord to keep aggro on it, so I end up just getting one-tapped for my entire health pool. You try to do the right thing, and this is how you get repaid, folks. Memeing aside, he probably just wasn't used to someone doing as much funnel damage here to the Bannerlords because most people just AoE out of their minds. That isn't the end of my bad luck though. The monk gets targeted with a spinny boy and he runs to the right hand side of me. So the spinning boy goes from left, hits me, I end up going down. I honestly didn't see it in that like 1 to 2 seconds where he started going towards me. After that though, we didn't skip the Dominators because sometimes you save your invis pot here and you go up the stairs. So I did save mine, but we didn't even need it because we pulled it anyway. We then do funnel things on the Dominators and we only lost the Druid to the bats once. We get Ogre Boy down and we then pull the Slam Dunkers up here where you go up the stairs. And I'm going to show this death, and I've learned from my mistake before you say anything. In this last room here, don't place yourself in the middle of the room where this little bear rug is because it's not as obvious when the swirly is underneath it, as it does catch myself and the Paladin here. But unfortunately for me, I'm not as tanky as the Paladin and I didn't have a defensive rolling, so I did die. Now onto the last boss. We've still got plenty of time if we play it safe. Phase 1 we didn't have any deaths to the bolts going out. Phase 2 we only had one death, which was from the Shadow Bolt volley just before the intermission, and it ends up taking out our healer. We did have a CR though, so we get him up after that. And that is our first 28 key time for the series. Big Pog. It gave us a nice +7 Rio, which takes us to 3485. And the overall wasn't too bad either, considering we did die straight away on the big Bannerlord pull, and we died at the Spinny Boy, so I think we did pretty well. Remember that Eminem song, Shady's Back? Well, in our case, Morazan's Rise back, again in another 27. This one is very short and shows you how annoying the raging affix can be, alongside some player mistakes of course. So, first big pull goes okay for about 30 seconds in, and a corroding volley starts getting cast. It can't be CC'd as it's below 30% as well and has not been dispelled, so it's up to the DH and the monk, but they don't kick it, so that instantly kills the monk and the priest. And then a little bit later, same thing happens again. I use my kick on an Epoch bolt, because there was quite a few of them going back to back, just to help the tank out a bit. I see the priest has been holding his kick as well, so I thought, oh well, he must be holding it for corroding. Corroding gets cast, and he doesn't kick it, and 4 of us instantly die. Fun stuff. Then, just as a final nail in the coffin, we pull the snake dude with 2 of the Magus, and the monk kicks Epoch bolt instead of the volley. And that's the key. One lesson I did learn from this experience is don't trust anybody in a pug, just trust yourself. So from now on, I'm just going to hold all my kicks for corroding. Another short key in this 28 Atal we attempt here. We go left with Lust as always for Fortified. All goes well for the start within the first 2 packs, and then the tank does a semi-sketchy chain pull here with the Colossus still alive and the Juggernaut still up. So we end up losing the healer to Soulburn because it does tick pretty hard. And once he dies, it's basically over because his statue's going to go away, so the one thing keeping the charges away from us is now gone. The rest of us go down other than the tank because the Juggernauts are going in melee. Things get worse though, as after that we try to recover the pull when we definitely should have just reset it at that point. We rack up 13 deaths in this fiesta. We then try again, but the tank places the mobs right next to the statue for some apparent reason. So as you can imagine, the Juggernauts just end up charging in melee because we're too close to the statue, and there's 3 of them, so we all go down again. One run back to try and recover, and we wipe again. So 24 deaths at 9 minutes with no bosses killed. That is a Depleto and go next angle. After those last 2 short keys, we try our hand at 27 Everbloom, and this one surely isn't going to be another short key. Right? So we do the first big pull, we're doing enhanced DPS in these big packs, feels bad. And we're just trying our best basically to stop all the choke and bind casts going off because no one wants to be stuck in a 9-second stun. No one. Unfortunately though, we end up losing the priest and then the tank ends up going down as well, which of course means everyone else dies. We manage to keep a few of them in combat and then the tank pulls another pack on top of it, and very quickly he ends up just being flatlined, so in turn I end up going down. So you can kind of see where the vibe of this dungeon is going at this point. So again, the tank goes for a mega pull here and goes down again. Not sure if this guy just watched MDI or some shit, but the pulls were just outrageous, and that is sadly another brick. Now for our last key of the week, and because me and you all love watching Rise keys so much, we try one last time in a 27, and here are the highlights. Not the best end to the week, but we did gain some score and we end the week at 3485, so we're getting super close to 3500, which will be a massive milestone for me this season. I have got some juicy stuff to show you next episode, so make sure you don't miss out on that one. Hope you enjoyed the disaster keys this week, and I want to say a massive thank you to the Patreon supporters, and a big thank you to everyone else who watches and supports the channel. If you haven't subscribed already and liked the video, then why not help your boy out? It goes a long way. Have a great day everyone. Peace.